first time I ever went out, sat by myself, terrified. I was in the dark. It was a deer hunt. I was 12. It was like the first day. It was October 1, first day I could hunt. I went out and had a 5-point and 2 does walk out. And like I took a shot at this 5-point at like point. It was so close. Sailed it right over its back. Like honestly, I wasn't even in the vicinity of that deer. I was so shook, But man, after that, I'm like, this is the greatest thing. I could do this every morning for the rest. And then, like you said, I still can hardly sleep knowing if I get up, I'm getting up to hunt in the morning.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to have something like that to look forward to where you can still get that excited. And more, I love hunting like I mentioned, hog hunting. I've taken some groups here from Easton with people that either haven't hunted or have never been on a, like out of state hunt or anything like that. And so the last couple of years, I've taken a group from our factory here, and I've had a lot of fun because they're so enthusiastic, or a kid or my son or whoever, they're kind of experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And you kind of remember, I remember what that was like. And so you kind of get to relive your own first experiences in archery again.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Excited to have Gary Cornum on. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's you're in Utah. How's Utah today? How's the weather?
Well, we're just getting summer underway here, and it's funny when you hit June, you start to think a little bit about start hunting season, especially out west here. It's creeping in, and we got season starting in August, so it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, it's funny how that goes. Same thing for us. We've got this grizzly hunt coming in August. We're doing some planning for that, and then, trying to slip in as much fishing as we can. In the meantime, I was out this morning in the rain. It was, went from 90 yesterday. It'll be like 60 some today. So brought in a little rain and caught a few smallmouth in the river. So
yeah, get a little of that in when you can. It's a good time of year for a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah, by me, I fish a shallow river or a shallow stretch of a river for smallmouth, and like the weeds will get to a certain point in the summer where you really can't fish it. But right now it's nice, and we were just talking on the kayaks this morning. So basically, I'll put a kayak in, I'll do a big loop float, and then I'll end kind of right back where I was again down the river. And man, we've been just seeing so many carp. Like carp everywhere, like,
Yep.
If you walk for a while, they'll bump into your legs and stuff. So I'm thinking of strapping a bow to my kayak in the back and taking a few out while I'm out there.
And that's a good idea. I remember, around here, they start to spawn. It seems like June-ish. And when that gets going, it's just like, it's target rich for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do this time of year as well.
Yeah. So I'll probably be doing that here soon. But Gary, you work for Easton Archery. You're in the marketing department, right?
Yeah. I'm the director of marketing here. I've been with Easton a long time. I've been here since 93, so over 30 years now. But yeah, so it's arrows are just like floating around in my brain, and that's all we think about here. So.
That's funny. Well, so I was 5 when you joined Easton.
It's crazy. It's gone fast, but there's people that we hire now, and it's funny because I think I feel some ways it feels like I just walked through the door. Well, there's people that we'll hire and they weren't even born when I was started here. It's weird. It's weird how quick time goes and how that is, but yeah, it's really nice to be in a place where and work for a company where the products that you make are stuff that people want to use. They don't have to use it. It's like what they look forward to using, right?
Yeah.
And so I've never, like, all the years I've been here, I've never like been in that situation where I'm like, I have to go to work today. It's like, oh, this is great. I get to go to work today, and we're going to, we get to do podcasts, or we're going to do whatever. Right. But we're getting to make the products that make those heart pounding moments that we all love to do in the field possible. And that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah. No, It's so cool. I mean, our arrows, like, and working for a company like Easton. I mean, you guys were. I've shot everything from FMJ. I had the XX 75s like when I was young,
Yeah.
to the the Axis arrows that I shoot now. But you guys were, I mean, really one of the original kind of companies in archery, right?
Yeah, it's a great story because there really wasn't a lot of archery. There was some target archery, back in like the early 1900s and stuff like that. And archery's been like, you go way back, it was used in warfare, 500 years ago.
Right.
And then there was like, get out and compete a little bit. But archery is like a hunting, recreational hunting, subsistence hunting, Native Americans, that kind of thing. But as a recreational thing, it didn't really come about until, Saxon Pope and Art Young sort of kicked it off in the early 1900s. Well, our history as a company sort of coincides with that. And that where archery emerged as not only a competitive vocation, but also bow hunting being something that people went out and did recreationally. So our company was started in 1922, and so if you kind of look at the history of modern archery and bow hunting where we are today, it's sort of the same history timeline as what Easton has.
Yeah.
And originally, the company was founded by Doug Easton. And he made longbows by hand, and he made wooden arrows by hand. And that's how he started. And he did such a good job. He was so meticulous about it that people wanted to buy his equipment. And that's kind of what got the whole ball rolling.
Hmm.
And then he was also an innovator. And so then he started experimenting with different materials, and he moved into aluminum, like you mentioned. And then later on, with his son, we're still family owned, by the way. His son Jim, he started to innovate with carbon and aluminum carbide together. And then now third generation, Greg Easton, is over the company. So it's still in family business after over 100 years.
OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence. Yeah, it's great. So, I mean, and you've been there really like a third of the time.
I know that's nuts, but I thought of that the other day. I was like, whoa, it's a company, and I was like, I've been here for a good part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's so rare, to be, in a company like that for that long, especially, I mean, in hunting, people bounce around the industry quite a bit, a surprising amount. And to see you sticking around, that says a lot about.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are a family-owned company, and so
Yeah.
we wear different hats when we can. We help each other out when we can, and and it's just and it's something that also just kind of what drives us too is just the passion of like, hey, what can we do better this year that we didn't do last year?
Yeah.
And having the freedom to be able to do that and express yourself and your ideas, and everybody gets to do that. So we have a great team, and you don't want to move along somewhere else when you got that situation.
Yeah. One, it keeps you making better things because, and we've seen this a bunch, and sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't, where a company does really well, a new company comes along, does really well, and then it's swallowed up by a conglomerate, and and quality goes down and so on. And so that's not always the case, but it does happen. And so to see, like a kind of a mainstay company like Easton that just can continue to innovate, that's a big deal.
And I think another part of that is that we haven't got in. I mean, we make some accessory items, but like the vast lion's share of what we do is just one category, arrows. So we don't get distracted by, hey, let's do this, widget, let's do this. And we just continue to focus on making really good arrows.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't, we don't get our attention pulled away on other things because of that.
Yeah. Well, and you're sort of unique in that, I mean, people do go through arrows, so it's not like you have a bow that lasts, 5 seasons or whatever for guys, 10 seasons or whatever. At least I mean, maybe it's just me, but I'm making it maybe 1 season with it. If I make it through a whole like year with a dozen arrows, like I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, they get shot up. There's no question
I
about
call it spoilage. Yeah, yeah.
spoilage, but yeah, it's people like to try different things too. Like,
Yeah.
archery's one of those sports where part of the fun of it, part of the being an enthusiast is tinkering with your equipment during the
Oh
hunt.
yeah.
What happens if I fletch it this way, or what if I try a half out, or different this or different that. And so to me, that extends the time that you can enjoy the sport, and
Yeah.
the shooting side of it as well. So but it is nice to just kind of say, hey, we're gonna make the best arrows and be focused on that, and not have to try to you know cater to other categories or anything like that. So we make arrows for everything from beginners all the way up to the Olympic podium. And so that gives us plenty to do, in Bowman. And so if you look at, we have an arrow for any kind of archery, any kind of archer, any size archer, and any kind of vocation that you want to take up in archery. So we just try to do one thing, but do one thing really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you said something earlier, you've been there for that, been at Easton this long, and you mentioned, aluminum, then carbon came along. I'm sure you've seen like a lot of trends, in the kind of the arrow side of things. One that comes to mind is, when I started hunting, and carbon arrows were becoming a thing, or kind of were a thing. They light and like the light, fast arrows, like these super light, fast arrows. And then, maybe starting like a decade ago, we got into like the opposite. That pendulum swung the other way, and it was like super heavy, like extremely heavy logs you're flinging, like tell me, like what kind of shifts have you seen? Where are we headed? What is that like?
Yeah. So that's a really good point. That's, I think, the one you're bringing up here is part of what I was talking about with, making, archery kind of fun all year long by tinkering with your equipment. I think that lends itself to what you're talking about. Well, yeah, trying some different things. So, um, with regards to, there's everything from arrow diameter, but, cut weight being one of those where, for a while, trying to milk every foot per second out.
Yeah. Overdraw. Yeah.
Yeah, overdraws and all that stuff. That was a thing. And then it kind of swung back toward what you're talking about with, maybe more energy being better for penetration. Kind of where we're at right now, and I think this trend will continue for a while, is lighter weight shafts, but using heavier points and inserts.
Yeah.
They help out a little bit with accuracy. It gives you a lot of versatility. So like our new 5.0 is a very, very lightweight shaft, but there's a lot of components you can put at the front end. So maybe your total arrow weight is the same, even though
Yeah.
the shaft is very light, but you have higher FOC.
Yeah.
Or to make it versatile, a guy might be going on a hunt or pronghorn or something where he wants a lot of speed. Well, you can do that with that arrow as well. You use his insert, and you don't put so much weight on the front, and now you got an arrow that's really fast. So that flexibility and versatility is really a trend right now that we're seeing. And then also, even with our other category, like the Full Metal Jacket, the FMJ, we came out with the FMJ Max this year, and it's a lighter weight version of the FMJ. So that's kind of where we're at. And then, but you talk about that pendulum. when I started in the industry, carbon was just sort of getting onto the scene. Easton at that time had some hybrids be aluminum carbon together, composited together as well composition. We had the ACCs back then, and FMJs came along later on, which is also a dual composition shaft. But there, back then we had outserts, and then after a while, people didn't like those anymore. Well, now outserts are they're hot in the market again.
Yeah.
See that pendulum coming back. I'll say though they are probably a lot better than they were back then.
Yeah.
But it's still the same concept, and you see that pendulum come back this way, and what will be the next one? Well, who knows? But when you're talking about arrows, you're talking about a tube, and so I've been amazed what our engineering team's been able to do with just something a simple concept like a tube, with everything that they've been able to do by putting aluminum carbon together, by doing all carbon, by doing outserts, by making the diameters ultra small for better penetration. I mean, I've really been, taking something that's just as simple as a tube and versioning it out so many different ways. It's been very impressive to watch those guys.
This episode is brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan, and whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out. Yeah, it's just it's funny because, I've used the all aluminum, the hybrid. I've used carbon, and right now I'm shooting those, the 4mm with a heavy kind of insert at the front. And actually, and just back to your point about tinkering, I've tinkered with everything. Like I've got, in my broadhead little box, I've got everything from 100 grains to over 200 grain heads. And, what I found that I like is weight on the front as an outsert or whatever, like the thin diameter shaft. And then you can throw just 100 grain head on, which are a lot easier to find. And so if you're ever somewhere and you have an issue, you can always find 100 grain broadhead something. And so that's worked. I mean, that's the arrow setup I used for my bison hunt. And it worked great. Had no issues. And I only broke one of the arrows that I shot into it. So happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are awesome. That's probably our long range Axis long range you're seeing. Yeah. Those have been phenomenal with that. It's a lightweight shaft platform, and then with the flexibility of either point weight or outserts or whatever you want to put on it, half outs and all that. You can kind of get it to the weight you want it, and you can also not have an arrow once you put a heavier point or heavier insert on it that's overly too much, because the shaft itself is a lightweight platform. And the other thing I didn't mention when we were talking about Easton is we make these products right here behind the wall where I'm sitting. So it really gives us an advantage. We're not outsourcing those; we're actually making those right here in Utah. And so it's great for our engineering teams here, marketing's here, sales here. But if we want to, hey, let's try something, and go out onto our machines and we prototype, and they design it. We do it all right here under this roof. So it gives us a real advantage to be able to, and these guys that are baking the stuff are also enthusiasts. So they could kind of look at it and go, hey, this is what I'm hearing, or this is what I want. Go out and try it, make some prototypes, and then get out and see if they work. And so being able to do that all right here in the USA is pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just going back, you've been there since '93. How'd you get a job at a place like Easton?
What's interesting is I, growing up hunting, my dad taking me hunting, I just loved it, right? I was back in those days. I think about being a little kid and I couldn't even hardly go to sleep. And I was
Hmm.
say for 3 o'clock in the morning because I was so excited. Um, and, and so I had a friend who's, from high school, whose brother was the sales manager here. Uh, and, and he told me about a job, not really like thinking, I would think I was just out of college. And so he mentioned it to me like in an offhand way and not really thinking, hey, that was a job that, I'd be interested in. Anyway, he mentioned it, I was like, oh, how cool would it be to work in the hunting industry, right? The sport that, my dad introduced me to that I couldn't even sleep. I was so excited to go. And so it kind of brought those two things together, right? The passion of I love this with also an opportunity in marketing, which is my other interest,
Yeah.
bring those two things together. So anyway, I make a long story short, I ended up reaching out to him, who was sales manager at the time, and got an interview, and there you go. So yeah, I worked as a marketing coordinator at first, then as a marketing manager, and then about 20 years ago, uh, I've been doing in my current position for about 20 years as marketing director.
Wow.
So
So with, doing that, you still get time to hunt.
yeah. Yeah, but it's not as much as I would like.
That's what everybody I have on says. I'm always like, well, you're in the industry, and they're like,
The
that's
thing
part of it, huh?
is here, I used to like outdoor TV and stuff. I had produced a show for the Outdoor Channel, Easton Bow Hunting for a while, and I just remember thinking, you're immersed in it all day long, and then like last thing I would want to do is go home and watch more outdoor TV when I get home, because I'm kind of doing it all day long, right?
Yeah.
And so, but now we still love to try to get out as much as we can. It's kind of cool because you're sort of getting your fix a little bit while you're at work too.
Yeah, sure.
So, like talking to you or whoever, that when we hang out, if the phone will ring and I'll talk to somebody else, and they'll tell me how their bear hunt's going or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, you kind of get to enjoy it vicariously that way too. So,
Oh yeah.
and so even though maybe I don't get out as much as I wish I could, I still get to sort of enjoy it all the time anyway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a good mix. But yeah, we get out and hunt when we can, and we always have, I always want to. We're out west, but I love to hunt whitetail, so I go out hunt whitetail every year. I love to hunt hogs because it's just no pressure and fun. So I do that,
Yeah.
and whatever else comes along the way, right? There's always something, bear,
There is always something.
turkeys, or who knows what. But yeah, we do get a chance. We get plenty of hunting.
Yeah. What's your whitetail your go-to, or what's your thing?
Yeah, I mean, I make sure I have at least one really good fun whitetail hunt schedules for the rut, yeah, time. But as I mentioned, hogs, I love it because I generally get to fling a lot of arrows and shoot a lot of animals in a shorter period of time. It's what I like about duck hunting.
Yeah.
You can go out in the morning and do a whole bunch of shooting, and some of these hunts you go on and you're out there for 2 weeks, and you're hoping to get one shot.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's kind of what I like about hogs. And there's no pressure to shoot a certain animal or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
and I like the meat and all that, but I love it all. I like hunting pronghorn. I like hunting mule deer, whitetails, as we've mentioned. I mean, it's all fun. It's all fun for its own reason. Bears in the spring.
Yeah. What's your you guys do you have like a go-to arrow, Easton arrow, or do you switch around a lot?
What I like to use, you know, I I I like to kind of pick sort of the middle of the road. I want to use the arrow that where we sell a lot of our volume, because I feel like, it's easy to go to the pinnacle, the top of the pinnacle, and
Yeah.
go, hey, let me shoot X10 Parallel Pro. Okay, well, that's a smaller part of the market. So I usually try to hunt with like a regular old FMJ, 5 millimeter FMJ, or a regular old 5 millimeter Axis,
Yep.
because there's so many so many hunters out there using those that I really like to have a lot of experience where the majority of the hunters are using the products. And so, and they work so well. But
Right.
I'll try everything we introduce new. I always try it, and then and it's hard because I love them all. And I was even thinking about setting up some game getters this year because I haven't.
Oh yeah.
It's like shot some XX75 game getters and kind of
Yeah, some throwback.
the nostalgia. Yeah, yeah,
Do you still manufacture those?
yeah. Oh yeah, yep, yeah. They're legacy product.
Yeah.
We sell a good number of them every year, and so why not, right? So I may put a set together and just try it just for fun.
Yeah, man, that just brings me back feeling the cold arrow,
Yeah,
pulling out a cold arrow in the morning. It's just very different, different now.
fun too when you shoot one. It's kind of a throwback experience. You send one,
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was when I
Yeah.
started out. Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of fun. That's a blast too.
Yeah, you grab one of those arrows, and I would throw one of those thunderheads on at.
Right. That's I think that era when I started, that was the it was either the Super Slam with Chuck Adams or the X675 with a Thunderhead on 125 grain Thunder.
Yeah,
And that was like the thing, right?
yeah.
So that would be fun to put that setup together. I'm definitely gonna get some to shoot and set them up again, but I may end up hunting with some just for fun.
I missed quite a few deer with that setup as a 10, 12, 14-year-old kid. It took me a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny too. I can remember all my misses, and
Oh
so
yeah.
it's they they just stay with you.
Oh man, well, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's like, one of you, some of your a lot of times you're like that one of that early memory you have hunting sets the tone, like if you're hooked or not. And yeah, the first time I ever went out, sat by myself, terrified I was in the dark as a deer hunt. I was 12. It was like the first day it was October 1, first day I could hunt. I went out and had a 5 point and two does walk out. And like I took a shot at this 5 point at like point. It was so close. Sailed it right over its back. Like honestly, I wasn't even in the vicinity of that deer. I was so shook. But man, after that, I'm like, this is the greatest thing. I could do this every morning for the rest. And then, like you said, I still can hardly sleep knowing I'm if I get up, yeah, I'm getting up to hunt in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to be able to have something like that to look forward to where you can still get that excited. And more, I love hunting with I take like I mentioned hog hunting. I've taken some groups here from Easton with people that either haven't hunted or have never been on a like out of state hunt or anything like
Yeah.
that. And so the last couple of years, I've taken a group from our factory here, and I've had a lot of fun because they're so enthusiastic, or a kid, or my son, or whoever. Uh, they're kind of experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And you that you kind of remember, oh, I remember what that was like, and so you kind of get to relive your own first experiences in archery again.
Yeah.
And that's something that I didn't really realize until I did it, as how much fun it is to take folks that haven't had a lot of opportunity, or they're brand new or whatever, because you get to kind of get that enthusiasm and excitement back. It brings those memories back up to the surface, and to experience their excitement is a lot of fun too. So uh, that that's one thing that I've noticed the last few years is that we've been doing, and it's been so much fun to see their excitement.
Yeah, I love doing that. I did that this year for a turkey hunt. It was a blast seeing somebody's first time. And turkey's such a great animal to do it with. Like it's just exciting, it's gobbling, it's movement, it's fun.
Yep, and it's almost, in a way, it's almost more fun to experience it through them than it even was for you at the original, or just
Yeah.
not just kept bringing that back and saying, I remember what that was like. That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I mean, you do get out to hunt. One question that I've been thinking, in preparation for this, like, so you guys are turning out a lot of arrows. Like, how many arrows do you produce, like, in a day or a year? Like, how many do you pump out?
It's cranking, and we have about 250 people here. So we make our products here in Utah. We also have a finishing, packaging, and fletching facility out in Indiana,
Oh, really?
and a warehouse. Yeah. So a lot of the hunting, most of the hunting product goes there for finishing, for fletching, and all that, and they ship out of there. But when I started here, yeah, all I can say is it's millions because honestly, I haven't looked for a while, but we're shipping millions and millions of arrows every year. Uh, I just don't know off the top of my head what our yearly output is, but we are running, we're running more than one shift, and it's going pretty much every day of the week
Insane.
with over almost 300 people total. So you can just kind of it's archery is really popular, put it that. And I sometimes I look and I think of all these arrows, and I go to retailers and I look at it and I'm like, where are all these arrows going?
You're right.
Because you'll walk out there and you'll look, and we have these racks full of shafts and thousands of arrows, and you're just like, then you start to realize that there's a lot of people out there shooting archery. So
Half of them are in the tree above someone's target in their backyard, wedged in the oak.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, we print them out here, but it's pretty cool that we've been able to, make them here in the US for as long as we have.
Yeah.
And to do that, we've had to innovate. We've had to innovate not only on the product side, but on our processes. So we've developed automation here. We've developed robots that do some of the mundane stuff, moving product through a machine, that kind of stuff. And then just automation in the carbon manufacturing. The way we make carbon arrows here is different than anyone else. Now, they're the other arrow brands you'll see, they hand roll those arrows overseas. So it's a labor intensive, operation. We've automated that on machinery. Now you get a secondary benefit of that is the machinery creates a uniform product each and every arrow shaft.
Right.
So arrow number one or arrow number 1 million is made on the same machine across the same, the same mandrels and all that. They're very repeatable, very uniform. And so that lends itself to being an accurate product, a precise product. And that's why we call it Acucarbon, because
Yeah.
that's our process. And so, by innovating, we've been able to keep our costs down. So we're able to continue to make product here in the US. The other benefit being the automation lends itself to being a more consistent product. So you get more accuracy on that end too. So it kind of works both ways. It saves cost and it makes a better product.
Well, and that consistency, I mean, if people listening, if you've been shooting long enough, you can tell your accuracy is affected in a big way by how consistent you are between two different arrows. And you can tell just shoot a nice arrow, and it's like, oh wow, I shoot all of a sudden way better. It seems like it's almost more forgiving, and there actually is a lot to that.
There is, and if you here's it's there's kind of the way I see it is twofold. One, if your arrows are inconsistent in weight or spine or straightness, even if shooting them on a shooting machine, the group will be bigger, right? It's not going to be tight. That's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it, I believe, is when you know that your equipment is good quality equipment, when you draw your bow, you execute a better shot.
Yeah.
So not only is the product itself intrinsically more accurate, but it turns into better archers, because when you draw your bow back and you shoot and you're confident, you make a better shot. So you've seen our match grade. We have versioned our many of our models in the hunting line to match grade. which means they have even a higher level of tolerance than the standard grade does. Well, we're talking about very little difference in terms of maybe it's a few thousand straighter, maybe it's got a little bit better components and fletch configuration that's higher quality. It's got those things, but I also believe it boosts the confidence of
Yeah.
of the archer as well. So for those two reasons, you get a more accurate shot because you're boosting the confidence of the archer, but your equipment is also better.
Yeah, it reminds me for the NFL fans, like Baker Mayfield had a good game. He's a quarterback he was on the Browns at the time. He's like, I woke up feeling dangerous, and he's like, that's why he played so well. But there is something to it. Like you go out and like you can shoot anything that walks in front of you, and it's going down. That's goes a long ways.
It doesn't seem like it should be the case, but it's true. And I just know, like when I'm dialed in and I'm just like shooting my target and my arrow's hitting right where I want it to every time. When I go out and hunt, I'm way more deadly. I'm
Oh yeah,
make a better shot. I execute a better shot. So there is definitely something to that. And having good equipment lends itself to you being a more confident archer. And we see it even on the competitive side with like Olympians, and they shoot like our X10s at that level. They are confident in their equipment because when you get shooting that level, you're fighting against yourself more than anything else.
right,
Oh, I'm about to win the Olympic gold, gets in your head and you blow the shot, right?
right.
But if you have that confidence in your equipment, you can focus on making your shot. You don't have to worry about, wait, is this going to go where I want it to?
Yeah,
Is this product quality? So if you take care of that base, then you just have to worry about yourself and executing the shot.
yeah. How long does it take you guys to? I mean, I'm assuming you're always kind of working on new products, innovating something. Like from concept to it's on the shelf. Like, how long does that normally take?
Yeah. Yeah. We usually, so I would say kind of as a rule of thumb, about a year, but we are looking out into 2027, really
Yeah.
in Skunk's work stuff. So our engineering teams, they'll kind of have the wide end of the funnel, and they'll say, "Here's some ideas. Let's start making prototypes and testing them." And then that way we have plenty of time to see if we can make it, see if there's any issues with it, see how well it works. We can answer all those questions and have plenty of time to roll it out. So yeah, we're looking at 2-3 years of what's on the horizon. And then as we get closer, that funnel starts to get smaller. You say, hey, these products are really looking good. And this year with the new 5.0 and the FMJ Max, we've been working on that. We've actually had that in there for I think probably 3 years. Um, some form or another, to the extent where, it's changed a little as we went through that process, but the initial idea is 3-4 years old. And then that way, you can refine everything and make sure it's the way we want it. It looks the way we want it. It works the way we want it. Kind of go through that whole testing process and also the manufacturing and engineering process. Make sure, we can make it, make sure it runs on the machinery,
Yeah.
all those questions need to be answered. So it takes some time, but we work out ahead. That way, every year we've got something that's, kind of coming mature at that point to where, it's ready to roll out. So, by going through that process and looking out that far, we're able to get down to the narrow end of the funnel with the stuff that we actually introduce.
Yeah. That's sweet. Well, you have any big hunts planned this year? Hog and deer?
Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna take a group from Easton. We're gonna go hunt hogs in Florida in August, and then I'm going to do mule deer here in Utah, and then I've got Ohio on my radar for the rut
Nice.
in early November, and then I don't know, some will probably pop up in the middle of that, but
Yeah.
for now that's kind of where I'm at, and yeah, in the meantime, we're just having a good time promoting the new stuff. The Easton 5.0 has just been phenomenal. The excitement in the industry even exceeded my expectations for that. And that FMJ Max, we introduced those two together this year. I, I kind of, there's a part of me that wishes we would have introduced them in separate years because
Right.
that FMJ Max is my new arrow. I love that thing. And it's kind of living in the shadow of the 5.0 right now. But that lighter weight FMJ, it comes in at about an axis weight.
Yeah.
And so I've loved those FMJs since we first made them. And to now have that one available on a little bit lighter weight, offering a little bit more versatility, I'm really excited at that. So, so we've been promoting those over the summer, and I'm looking forward to getting out and hunting with those again in this fall. So.
That's sweet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're coming up on time here, Gary. But for anybody listening, I mean, you probably heard of Easton by now, but check them out. It's like I said, it's what I used on my bison hunt. For a hunt like that, you kind of want the right arrow, because you don't want to just turn some poor animal into a pincushion, trying to pull something off. And it was like I said, it's the same arrow that I shot the bison with. I shot a turkey with this spring. I'll use it for deer and everything else. It's kind of a sweet arrow. So I highly recommend it just because I've had so much experience with it. And that's why I wanted you to have come on here today, Gary, just to talk about that. So anybody have questions, I'm sure you can reach out to Easton and give them a follow, check it out. And Gary, thanks again for the time.
Yeah, and I'd love to do it again sometime, but thanks for having me on.
Cool. Thanks.